So number one, what is your question? Well, that's a prepositional phrase. So that's how I connect mala fortuna with the rest of the sentence. Translating it within. But I wouldn't probably translate it until after I translate Carnatur. So my instinct, nominative subject first, passive verb second, prepositional phrase third. Does that kind of make sense? Yes.
So would you say that the articles here are redundant?
No, because of the specific meaning that Certus took on over the course of time, meaning fixed or sure or certain. I'd say that it's not quite as redundant as it might otherwise appear. Number two. Or are there still questions on one? Well, I'm not saying that in this age of wonderful digital devices, that at a glance you can look up the word discern, nor that there are dictionaries that abound throughout the world. To discern means to perceive or to notice. And yeah.
That's what I thought it meant, but I don't know what the word letters.
Either one. It's the point of the sentence, and this is not a translation of the sentence. How do you know when you've got a real friend? Cynthia? Yeah, when they stay with you through the good and the bad. So you can separate out, you can discern who your good friends are, true friends are, by the fact that they stick with you when life stinks, versus just hanging out with you when life is good. That's kind of what the sentence is aiming in its complicated way to say. All right, number two. You had a question about that, Athena? So, given my infinite years, almost infinite years of experience teaching Latin, and so on, my thought is to take the quotation as the subject of the sentence, that it is then followed by the verb debet, which has the complementary infinitive esse, and then the third element in the phrase, or in the sentence, excuse me, is sententia nostra. And I'm just curious, what did you come up with for a meaning for sententia? No, that's pretty far off. Sententia means thought, motto, opinion, feeling. Can also sometimes be translated as sentence. If you wanted to, you could translate it as motto or thought, but motto works nicely here. And if I told you guys that sententia nostra is a predicate nominative, would that make any sense to you at all? Okay, good. Okay. Number three, any questions? Number 4. Okay. Maggie? Okay. Say that for me one more time, just that tail end of it. Okay. My thought on those 2 words is to take them together, bonum hominem, as potentially being masculine, bonum being masculine. And if so, it's accusative singular describing hominem. And again, not to do too much work. My thought on this is to take bonum hominem as the direct object of como vera. Okay, and then do you feel comfortable connecting these 2 words together? Even though they have different endings, vitae potentially could be genitive. So we could be talking about the dangers or the perils, but dangerous is good, the dangers of life. Okay. Does that cover your question on 4? 5? Owen?
Would nota iterum, would that be p cubed, or would nota be a noun?
They want you to take nota as just a straight up adjective. Yes?
So, would there be a neuter substantive on
Clararo? Substantive, yes. Neuter, no. Yes. Yes. Flaminia? Yeah. Through the action of the linking verb erunt, nota describes facta. Yes?
would erit be true then?
Yes. Number 6, any questions? Cass? Yeah, they really want you to take it as an adjective here. Describing Patria Nostra. Other questions? Oh.
How would you translate have in had?
Yes. You're going to get tired of my one-word answers, aren't you?
They are fun.
Good. Joy, did you have a question? All right, yay. Pass them up. So super quickly, you guys can see the abbreviation C, except it's kind of demolished. You guys see that someone, no pun intended on the word C, has punched holes in the inscription here and here and used it to support some kind of table or the legs of a table or something like that were here, 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 and here. But previously, this would have been a plaque adorning the bathhouse. And so there's C for Gaius, the abbreviation for Gaius, Plinius, and then the L. There is an indication that he's the son of a guy named Lucius. I actually, you know what, I'm tempted to run through this, but it'll just take more time and my voice will go flying out the window. But do notice he's held the office of Quaestor. He also had the title of Imperator, which means a victorious general. The word augur means that he was a chief priest of Rome, or not a chief priest, but one of the prophets of Rome. And then there's a reference to Nerva and so on, but Nerva Trajan, and we won't worry too much more about that. Pliny's a really fascinating guy. The Advanced Latin Reading Group is meeting with me to read his account of the eruption of Mount Vesuvius. Pliny was one of the surviving eyewitnesses. Pliny the Younger was. And he wrote a letter to the Roman historian Tacitus telling what happened on August 24th, 79 AD. But I'm getting off topic. Let's go back to the story. We're going to have not much noise for me because my voice is so but lots of noise from you all. And let's see, what's the best method to pursue? Volunteers or victims? So, do you have a volunteer to start? Athena, awesome. I think that's a really good strategy to help make sense of it, yes. Okay, well read, good. Do you have questions about how that sentence hangs together? Okay. It's good. It was one of the words that a lot of people had trouble translating on exercise 41A. It's the relative pronoun who, except it's in the genitive case, and so we'll translate it with English relative pronoun whose, W-H-O-S-E. Excellent, and there's room for one more tweak, and that's the etiam on quas. Excellent, good, okay. So, I want you guys to notice, and we're going to start seeing more and more sentences like this, where there are even two, even three sometimes relative clauses smashed into them. So well translated. Pliny, whose good deeds were perhaps previously not known to you, wrote many letters, which we are able to read even now. Okay. And that incorporates all the grammar that it needed to, and wondering if there are questions. Wave your hand if there's a question. Okay. All right. Athena, if you would pass it on, and we'll allow for volunteers or victims, but no repeats. Okay. Mangala? Good. Good. Did you say deed or deeds? Okay. Yeah, it is oddly, maybe, for what we're expecting, singular, after having the plural one before. But yeah, here a beautiful deed of Pliny. Good. All right, pass it on. I think it's good to help you piece things together, and it's good to get that practice for pronunciation prior to the final. So yes, let me ask you to read the Latin. you need to rethink the meaning of parvum. It's unrelated to paro, parare, paravi, paratus, the adjective that means prepared or ready, or the verb that means prepare or get ready. What does parvum mean? Parvasaum.
That's not city.
No, that's paris, a third declension adjective you haven't met yet. Think of dwarves. Think of millimeters. Think of Fiat automobiles. Small, yes.
So, once he came to a small town in which he was born or was born?
Yes.
In which he was born.
All right, so good. Yeah, once he came, and then I'm going to go ahead and definitize this. Once he came to the small town in which he was born, or in which he had been born. Okay. So technically, natos erat is a pluperfect passive verb, but not too much to worry about. So he was born in Comum, grew up, went away, um, and now he's returning to his hometown. Pass it on.
Ibi inter multis homines abat et ille salute familiarum rogabat. There he was standing the among the many men, and he was asking about the safety of the family.
It's pretty good. There's room for a tweak on familiarum. He was asking about the safety of their families, right? Okay. So indeed, there he stood among many men and was asking about the safety or health or well-being of their families. Okay. All right, good. Passed on. Work on that hard C sound for me. Kermit, yeah. It's pretty good, yeah. Super picky Latin teacher. You won't like this, but notices this is present tense. And you might say, well, that's not fair because the last verbs were past tense and rogawit is past tense. But anyway, that's good. So then he notices, or he noticed, or discerned, or perceived a familiar friend with his son. Pass on.
How far do you want me to go?
Go ahead, I guess to the question mark.
Adius plurum rogawit scipulus ne est. So when he asked the boy if he was a student.
Excellent. Okay, good. And I appreciate the way you worked on shortening the I sound on rogawit. Okay, I know that's an adjustment from last year, but nicely done. Passed on. Okay, Strabo.
The boy responded, or the boy responded, I was a student at Milan.
It's pretty good. Alter the tense of somno, which is very present tense.
I am a student in Milan.
Yeah, good. So the boy responded, or the boy replied, I'm a student at Milan or in Milan. Okay. Good. I know Mediolani looks very genitive, and it is, but it's also something, I don't like to say this word, causes Latin 2 students to run screaming from the classroom. So cover your ears. It's locative case, which is just a use of the genitive to tell place where. Just. So yeah, I'm a student at Milan. Otherwise, you don't want to say I'm a student of Milan in the sense that you study Milan, like you are a student of physical science. All right, passed on. Jake?
Oh, yes.
Well, yeah, go ahead and read the Latin. That might.
Optus quod quer patriam referat.
Okay, good. Uh, in reading it aloud, I don't know if this leaped out at you quite, but puer very nominative, patriam very accusative. Um, maybe that will help in putting it together smoothly into English. Is there any vocab that's giving you trouble on it?
It's quad nominative something.
It's not quad the relative pronoun. It's quad the good old conjunction because in its
Where the boy, he had left the boy, had left town. Okay, so Phineas worried because the boy had left his farmland. Uh, asked, "Why are you not here? Why not here?"
okay, good, yeah. And that's nicely done. And the idea is, lurking behind this is the idea that it's better to be educated in your hometown, living with your family, rather than sent off to some distant, terrible boarding school like Hogwarts or Durmstrang or, um, well, where would Joey go if he were a wizard? What's the place with Madame Pomfrey? No, Madame Pomfrey's the. Is it all girls really? Oh, never mind. Then Joey wouldn't go there because okay. Unless he wants to hit on all the girls, but never mind. Okay.
I started totally open a boarding school. It could just be called Tables Flat. And then like you walk in and he's like totally that's the first day. And then the second day is frack. You learn like all the verbs in one day. Now it's the second
Yeah.
It's just like this week-long summer camp. And then
Sure,
master
that's a good idea. I'll open a boarding school. I'll hire Mrs. J to teach defense against the dork arts. Okay.
Or you could teach her.
So Pliny, upset or moved or disturbed because the boy had left his homeland, asked, "Why not here?" That's great. Pass it on there, Cole. All right. So I'm gonna that's okay. I'm gonna get us caught up. Quirnon Heek, why not here? Why did you leave your country? That's a continuation of what Pliny was saying. And go ahead, Peter, one more time. The boy replied. Almost. Everything in the second half of the sentence is plural. Good. So I'm not able to stay here for we have not any teachers or for we don't have teachers. Okay, good. Pass on. Sure. Not quite. The boys have been alarmed by these words. Yes, pueri can't quite match up with the endings in the form of som here on kamota som. So if we take pueri perhaps as genitive with werebis, and then what kind of subject does kamota som here? Right. Yeah, good. So then Pliny made a speech. I have been alarmed, or I've been upset by the words of the boy, or by the boy apostrophe s words, the boy's words. Okay. All right, good. Onward. Excellent. Very nicely done. Even though you called me Shirley. Certainly or surely. Okay. You are able, and I like the way you brought in potestas and debatis right away with each other. You are able and ought to have a school here. Okay, good. Pass on. Good. Careful, cognoscita is actually an imperative. It's giving a command. And then concilium has a different meaning than you assign to it. One more time. Almost. Not supply. That'd be copia or copion. Learn of my plan or my advice. Yeah, concilium means plan or advice. So again, Pliny's telling his fellow people of Comum, learn my plan. Okay. Onwards. Yes, the volunteers run thin. Excellent. That's all right, Jacobe. Yeah, I don't have children, but nalipta parata sum. And they don't give you a vocab note on partem, but brilliant young people like you, what are you guys going to make of partem? Part, yeah, it's English derivative is a good translation. So I do not have children, but I am prepared to give tertiam partem. Almost. I'm prepared to give a third part of the money which you will give. Okay. So in other words, what Pliny is in essence aiming to do is to have the people of Comum come up with money to pay for a school, more particularly to pay to buy a teacher. Um, and most teachers in the ancient world were slaves, and they were bought and sold. Okay. So how much is Pliny willing to give if this is the big old mass of money? What? No. A third of what they're going to give, which means he's prepared to give a fourth. Okay. So Pliny's going to give 25%, which is 1/3 of the 75% that the people of Comum are going to raise. And Pliny's offering to do this even though he has no kids of his own to be educated there. Okay. So I don't have kids, but I'm prepared to give a third portion or a third part of the money which you will give. And then last little bit. Let's get someone new and fresh and Ryan.
Are you prepared?
You're on the right path. Are you prepared? And then dare means what? To give, right. So are you prepared to give the remaining part if almost tertium is that new adjective in this lesson that means third. If I will give a third part. All right, okay, made our way through it, which is good. Any questions in there? All right, turning your eyeballs, let me just go ahead and pause the recording for a moment. All right, so some brave soul, some soul asked me to review Possum. So I figured I'd ask you guys in lesson 32. But you guys have known Som esse fui futura since dinosaurs roamed the earth. What other forms of Som do you guys know besides possum? Som. Hold on 1 second. I'm trying to write it all. And I didn't really mean to write that A. So there's som, esse, fui, futurus. There's also, what again? Yeah, som, esse, fui, futurus. And I suppose if I were a highly paid professional Latin teacher, I'd remind you what these words mean. But as highly paid professional Latin students, you guys don't need me to tell you that. Right? So give me one meaning, JB, of obsum.
Could you say? Would that be? Or would that be more like awesome?
Well, esse means to be, as an infinitive. No, no. Ob has its normal force of meaning away from. So obsum means I am absent or I am away from. Odsum means I am present or I am near or I am at a place. There's also good old possum, passe, except the way this prefix gets mushed on is a little bit different. And whoops, I don't know. I can't write worth beans today. I'm not quite sure what to do with how the prefix POS or POT that has to do with ability gets added to som, esse, fui. There is no fourth principal part for this verb, but in essence, what I've told you in the past, and what I'll tell you again super quickly, is that when the form of the verb to be starts with s, like sum or sumus, the prefix is spelled pos. So pos sumus. But where the form of the verb to be starts with an e, whether it's est or erant, then the prefix is spelled pot. So you have potest or poterant. And this is a verb that means to be able. And it's really pretty straightforward. Very important Latin verb. Takes a complementary infinitive, and I'm not quite sure what to do aside from tell you go drill it in the computer lab or in the library. If you're having trouble with the formation of it, go drill it. Okay. What I'm going to tell you, and now is a good time to point it out to you, is that these are one of only a handful, these are only a handful of the forms of som that get prefixes on them. Turn your eyeballs very swiftly in your workbook to page 153. So there are lots of compounds of som. There's desom, which means to fail.